everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Brain Scratch Case Cracked. I'm your host, John Lorden, and today we are looking into not one, but two cases supposedly solved by ghost. Yeah, a little Halloween theme for all of you out there. And I have to give a huge thank you to Christy Stracener. She has been a researcher not just on this episode, but on several other brain scratches. She always does a really good job. Thank you so much for helping me put this together, Christy. So, the first case we're looking into takes place in 1977. And this is the case of Teresita Basa. Teresita was a 47-year-old respiratory therapist at Edgewater Hospital in Chicago, trained musician, member of the Philippine aristocracy, and world traveler until her untimely death. Teresita's last night on Earth ended with a fire. Around 9 p.m. on February 21st of 1977, fire trucks were called to an apartment fire in Chicago. After extinguishing the flames, they found more than they had expected. Teresita's burned, naked body was found under the mattress with a knife sticking out of her chest. The fire had burned away crucial evidence, making this a very tough case to crack for investigators, and after 6 months, the case went cold. Detective Joe Statula came into work one day and found a note on his desk instructing him to call the Evanston Police Department regarding Miss Basa. The Evanston PD referred him to Dr. Jose Shue for information specific to this murder case. Detective Statula and his partner spoke with the doctor, and they were told that the doctor's wife and Miss Basa had both been therapists working together at the same hospital. They knew each other, and his wife, Remedios, also known as Remy, had even been to Miss Basa's apartment for a party at one occasion. Dr. Shue stated that his wife would go into a trance-like, almost comatose type state, and during these episodes claimed to be the spirit of Teresita Basa. While possessed by the spirit of Basa, Remy stated that she needed help solving Basa's murder case and that the murderer was a man that they both worked with named Allan Showery. Dr. Shue stated that he didn't believe it, and he even demanded more proof from the voice. The voice gave him the names of 4 individuals who could identify the stolen jewelry, along with their telephone numbers. The names were Ron Samara, Ken Basa, Richard Pisotti, and Ray Kings. So with nothing else to go on, the detectives followed up with Showery and his girlfriend at their apartment. The officers asked Showery if he would come downtown and help them with the Basa murder case. Amazingly, he accepted. While at the station, Showery was caught in a number of lies. And these ranged a little bit, but primarily was his story that he had gone to Teresita's apartment that night to help fix a television set. His girlfriend said he didn't know anything about fixing televisions. And then he said he had to leave that apartment to go back to his apartment because of some electrical problems. His girlfriend said there were no electrical problems and he wouldn't know how to fix those types of things anyway. Detectives asked his girlfriend if she had been given any jewelry lately, and she says yes. The ring and pendant she was actually wearing had both been, quote, belated Christmas presents from Showery to her. Detectives used those phone numbers given to them by the voice, called the individuals, and had them come to the police station. And indeed, these people were able to positively identify the stolen jewelry. With all this new evidence in hand, Showery was questioned again and quickly caved, admitting that he had killed and stolen from Basa, removing jewelry from her home, killing her, putting her under the mattress, and lighting the whole place on fire. Now, you would think that supernatural evidence would have no place in a court of law, but amazingly, the judge actually allowed it to be presented. Now, it didn't quite do the job because after 4 weeks, a mistrial was called due to a deadlocked jury. But for some reason, one day after the 2-year anniversary of his crime and against his lawyer's advice, Showery admitted his guilt in front of a judge and took his punishment. He was sentenced to 14 years for the murder and 4 years for aggravated robbery and arson. He was paroled after serving less than 5 years. Now, why did he admit guilt in a trial that included supernatural testimony and would be very difficult to win? I don't know. Maybe he was also haunted by Teresita. So that is it for the first of the cases. Let's jump to the second. This one goes a ways back, and I'm almost wondering if these types of ghost-related stories are going to kind of die off into our folklore as we now have technology and people might not believe it without seeing a picture or seeing a video recording or hearing a recording of people while they're possessed. I'm really not sure, but I do find it interesting that the first case was from 1977. This one is actually from 1897, so we're doing a big rewind. This is the case of Elva Zona Heaster Shue. She was born in Greenbriar County, West Virginia, sometime in 1873. Elva had a child out of wedlock in 1895, and in October of 1896, she met her future husband in a drifter named Edward Stibbling Trout Shue. Now, on January 23rd, 1897, her body was found at home by a young man sent to the house on an errand. He ran and found his mother, who in turn called the local doctor and coroner, George W. Knapp. George W. Knapp came to the scene and found that Shue had actually moved his wife from the bottom of the stairs and placed her upstairs in bed. She had even been redressed in an outfit that had a high neck and a very stiff collar, and a veil was even placed over her face. The doctor did conduct a bit of an examination on her and noticed some bruising on her neck. However, he did rule that her death was a case of, quote, everlasting faint, which I haven't heard of before, but does sound kind of scary. Later, for some reason, he changed the death ruling to childbirth because he had already been treating her for, quote, female trouble, but it's unknown if she was actually pregnant or not at the time. I don't know. Maybe she was, and that was a motive for her husband to kill her or something. I really don't know. Her husband continued to act irrationally all the way up to even at her wake. He placed a pillow on one side of her head and a rolled up sheet on the other, once again coming up to her neck, saying it would help his wife rest easier. He kept getting up and getting down. Supposedly he was very frantic while he was there. He then tied a scarf around her neck, saying that it was her favorite. And even with all of that going on, it was noticed by other people that there seemed to be some type of strange looseness to her head. So Zona apparently appeared to her mother in a dream. She stated that Edward was cruel and abusive, that he had attacked her in a fit of rage when she had cooked him no meat for dinner and apparently broken her neck. Shue had been married twice before. The first ended in divorce, and his first wife did say that he was once again cruel. His second wife died under mysterious circumstances. Mary Jane Heaster, Zona's mother, appeared as the prosecution's star witness. While the prosecutor tried to stay away from the spectral evidence and just bring to light the facts, Mr. Shue's attorney brought it out into full view. Shue was found guilty of murder on July 11th and sentenced to life in prison. Even then, the community formed a lynch mob that was only deterred by the deputy sheriff. Only 4 of the lynch mob members faced any charges. Shue spent the last of his days in Moundsville State Penitentiary, where he lived for 3 years before dying on March 13th, 1900, the victim of an unknown epidemic. Zona never appeared again, and there is now a marker near the cemetery where she was buried at. And I guess the husband's lawyer didn't do such a good job bringing out that evidence, because apparently it backfired and they lost the case. So pretty interesting. Are we going to have any current cases that include supernatural evidence, or have you guys heard of anything like that? Please do me a favor, drop it in the comments below. I hope every one of you has a wonderful Halloween this year. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me, and I'll catch you next time on the Lord and Arch channel.